I'll praise you, Most High. Yeah, that sound good, y'all. Hello. What we doing?
Hey, cook that up, Kali.
We still getting to the money, got these haters in they field. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. Just here, this how we live. Look here, homie, we still getting to the money, got these haters in they field. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. Just here, this how we live. Look here, homie, be still. They said you got the call, they trying to blackball you. Like what they own, bro. You can't blackball a boss. The whole world, they hate Israel. The way you hate your neighbor, might as well pull the trigger on yourself. You know we get excited by the smoke. Every day we casting flesh. Save my treasure stored in heaven, we gon' blow the rest. They disrespected and we checked the bank that causing kept it still. They asking others about my business, but I ain't got no instant miss. See, I still deal with ox direct. Cause your person don't mean you respect. Your outlet don't get no credit if the ox ain't in it. Money answer all things and you got all these questions. Playing Vic, look, I employ slavery. I'll give you broke your head. Yeah, them crews in the hood, Jews in the hood. I caught them clues, now I'm good. I broke it down, he understood my all to you. Filtered through, you found a few, I'm good. We what we sold, this here exclusive. They like, hey, folk, look what you doing. We still getting to the money, got these haters in they field. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. Just here, this how we live. Look here, homie, we still getting to the money, got these haters in they field. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. Just here, this how we live. Look here, homie, be still. Most I told me, be still, give a room to work. Know my movie work. Your faith ain't good, don't put the work in. In the spirit flexing, that my day job. Getting the mode out my own, I don't know what they are. Before I got the blueprint, and I'm too legit to quit. Let it spark in the dark, be a light, got it lit. Trying to map my movement, got my haters pondering. The ops set the questionnaire, they wanna know if you still lit. It hit different, you authentic, a lot of ops pretending. We do it for the Lord, got my own motion, who are you to judge? Look, most high first, none above. Tech in the spirit, we locked in, they'll come against your plot. You know Judas said, yeah, we spit them scripts, they barely now. Came on slave ships, then you not black. You know they tell you every Isaiah 30:20, yeah, we bad. You see what happened when they tried to rail the train up off the track. False witness, hypocrite. We throw shots back, now they feel hit. Must go get it. We still getting to the money, got these haters in they field. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. Just here, this how we live. Look here, homie, we still getting to the money, got these haters in they field. Lil' homie, let them chill. Most I told me, vengeance hit my enemies, my footstools. We ain't got no beef for real. Just here, this how we live. Look here, homie, be still.
Yeah, peace is the mad scientist. You know, y'all can find me on all platforms, man. But type in DA Mad Scientist. You know, I'm on all platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Bing, on Twitter, Instagram. Instagram is 1230. But other than that, just type in Dub Mad Scientist or Eric DA Mad Scientist. You know, you'll probably get me better. But we'll get into this. Let Karima introduce yourself, and then we go start.
Shalom, peace, welcome. Please hit the like. You like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for tuning in.
Okay. First time I'm doing just show the videos like 10-minute video because you know my presentation probably be no more than an hour. You know, it takes a lot of time to make a presentation and make it last longer than an hour. So I'm just gonna show this right here. This is my brother. He's speaking on Job. He's just an inspiration. I just like this message, an inspiration for people who's going through something and need to understand to always keep your faith in God. All right. So let me play this, and then we will get to this presentation.
The sun goes down in the ghetto. Thieves on the block, scared to let go. People crying, children dying, 'cause they said so. The game is cold.
Could you hear that, Uncle Reed? I might gotta share that again.
I heard the beginning, not what you got it on pause right now.
Oh, so you did hear? Okay, okay. I was just making sure. All right.
First, giving honor to God, who is a merciful God, a wonderful God, a God that we adore, who constantly, every day, gives mercy unto his people. I greet you in the Cherokee language, Wende Yahweh, which means that I'm of the Great Spirit, and the people should say, Leyaho. We thank God and the Great Spirit for Crazy Horse. We thank God for Sitting Bull. We thank God for Chief Powhatan, and we thank God for Geronimo. We thank God for these mighty warriors who have come to teach us a lesson that we may learn and become greater students of our Father. We go to you now in prayer, God. Dear Heavenly Father, send thy Holy Spirit. Send thy presence that the people may hear you and not see me. We thank you for all your goodness that you have bestowed on the people. We thank you for all the lessons that you have taught. And in Jesus' mighty name, Lord, we pray. Amen. The subject I would like to touch on is in a time of trouble, when everything seems to be going wrong, we start to feel forgotten. I've talked to many people and I've heard them tell me, God doesn't care about me, minister. I don't want to hear it, preacher man, because if God loved me, why would I be going through the things that I'm going through now? And it takes me to the story of Job, and all of a sudden Job started having trouble. And in the beginning, Job felt like the trouble was just normal trouble. Job was unaware of the wager that Satan had made with God when he came to the gathering of angels in heaven. So as the trouble started coming, Job must have referenced to the verse in the Bible where it said the rain fall on the just and the unjust. But as the trouble started to continue, Job started to get a little worried. And as Job began worried, it seems like his friends begin to turn on him. His wife began to turn on him. Those he loved begin to turn on him and say, Job, why don't you just kill yourself? And I know there's some people out there right now who are going through trouble, who are going through pain, and the very people that you love and the very people who are supposed to be supporting you are telling you, why don't you just give up? But just because Job was going through things, Job still had faith. See, that right there and alone made Satan mad, because his whole plan was to discourage Job and to have Job in a position where he no longer had faith in his Father. He no longer had belief in his Creator. But the book said as Job was going on and on, he still prayed. He still was a righteous man. And I'm here to tell you that even though you're going through trouble, you still must believe in our Father. You still must try to do right, and you still must hold your head up. I don't know of any other person in the Bible who had went through much trouble like Job.
Job was backed into a corner. Boils came all over his body. His son died. His other children died. His wife died. Everything broke loose in his life. And I'm sure one day Job felt like he was forgotten. And as Job felt like he was forgotten, he did not curse God. He did not go crazy. He did not throw a fit, but he sent a prayer unto his father. He sent a prayer and said unto his father, Father, I am a righteous man. Father, I have done no wrong. Father, I pay my taxes. I honor the Sabbath. I do everything that you tell thy servant to do. Yet, these things have come upon me. So Job, in his feeling forgottenness, what he did was call out to God. And Job must be an example for our life, that when you feel forgotten and when you feel lost, do not let Satan take thy tongue and call out to thy Father. Some people say that the best answer to a prayer is not an answer at all. But the book said God answered Job's prayer and said to him, where were you when the foundations of the earth were created? Do thou know how long they will live? So God, in one aspect, put Job in his place and had to let him know that I am God. And that's what the Satanists will want you to focus on. But I'm here to tell you to focus on that God answered him. And I'm telling you, in a time of trouble, in a time of war, we as a people have forgotten to call out to God. And if you call out to God, he will answer. It might not be the answer you're looking for. Your prayer might not be his will, but he will speak to thy heart and let them know that I heard thy prayer. And as God put Job in his place, Job continued to plead his case, that he was a holy man and he was a righteous man. And through it all, Job got back double for what he lost. So I'm here to tell you, if you lost your house, if you lost your job, if you lost your mind, and even if you lost your soul, that God can give it to you back and he can give you more than you ever had. We are living in a time we have let our enemy push us in a corner, or we have lost faith in God. This is the same God who took Israel over the Red Sea. This is the same God who gave Noah the knowledge to build a boat and said that rain would come and the people will fall in their sin. Let us not forget the power of God. Let us not forget the mercy of God, and that God can do anything, and that you can do anything through Christ who strengthened thee. So I came here tonight to give you a message that you are not forgotten. God hears your prayers. God sees your pain. For he even told the Israelites, I know thy poverty and I know that suffering, but thou is great in righteousness. And God doesn't count your money. He doesn't care how big your house is, but God does respect righteousness. And God had enough respect for Job to honor his righteousness. He didn't leave Job in that destitute state. He didn't leave Job without any kids. The Bible said he blessed him with more kids, and he gave him more than Job ever had. And Job went on living a long-lasting life. And that's what you must do. You must keep the faith through the pressure, through the pain, and prove Satan a liar that you will not curse thy maker. Oh, I know it gets hard sometimes when you feel forgotten. I know it seems like you can't make it. But God said, I will count thy righteousness as wealth. I will count thy righteousness as income, as currency. And I know that's hard to bear and understand in a capitalistic system that teaches you the only thing of value is a piece of paper. But God said, thy righteousness and thy holiness shall I value. So don't give up and start not believing in God because you're going through something. Don't give up and start following Satan because you're going through something. Because we are on earth and greater is our reward in heaven. For Jesus said, when people talk about you and people misuse you and spitefully defame your name, he said, look up, for thy redemption draw near. Oh, isn't that a wonderful God? He said, hey, when they talk about you, when they beat about you, when they beat you down, that's when I will be there. They scorned Moses, and even the people of Israel didn't want to follow him. But God eventually took them into the promised land, because the race is not given to the swift. We must hold on and hold our beliefs. I know people who've been going to church since they was little kids, and now they have been through the trials and tribulations of life, and they have given up on God. Imagine if you had went through what Job went through. Imagine if all of your kids have been murdered. Imagine if your whole body was wrecking in pain to the point where Job regret he was born. And the Bible and a lot of scholars said that was his only sin. So let us be mindful in righteousness and put on the whole armor of God and be ready to go to war with Satan and any demon who dare to tell you that your God has forgotten. I want to call you to Jesus. I want you to accept Jesus' sacrifice, my people, and open your mind and stop being blind to the works of Satan. For we are here for a short time, and we must work for our Father. For the Bible said, work while it is day, for when night comes, no man can work. I'm the noble minister from the native temple of truth. Thank you.
Okay, that was my brother, DT Warcry, aka The Voice in the Wilderness. Got to check out my on Native Temple of Truth.
It's sad to tell, but I ain't gotta say this shit.
Hello.
And it's even more sad.
Not bad. Native Temple of Truth. Y'all go check that out. Now we're gonna get back to this presentation. Let me present it. Kind of down. All right. Let's get to this. Here we go. I just shared it. I thought this presentation is the Exodus. Is there any proof of the Exodus, the Israelite and Canaanite connection? I just wanted to do this just to see what both sides say. And like I said, what I do is I go to both sides, I put it together, compare it, and let the people who's listening and watching, determine. Okay, let's go.
Just share it on Facebook too.
I go back. Okay, all right. The Exodus and Israelite Canaanite connection. Let's get to it. This part of this. I got three little parts. So this part right here is from Armstrong Institute of Biblical Archaeology by Christopher Eames. Okay. What is the correct time frame? Because I want y'all to keep the times. It's 1300, 1400, 1500. These are the arguments that both sides are making. What is the correct time frame for the Exodus and conquest of the Promised Land? The debate about the date of the Exodus, conquest of Canaan, and establish of Israel as a nation. What does the Bible chronology say? And does the material of the ground offer any evidence? The Israelites crossed into the Promised Land. Okay, when did the Exodus and Israelites' entry into Canaan take place? That's a continuous question, not to mention whether or not did it happen. The general scholarly consensus puts an Exodus and Israelite establishment in Canaan during the 13th century, 1200 BCE, as the following examples show. Exodus, the liberation of people of Israel from slavery in Egypt in the 13th century BCE. 13th century exodus of Egypt, Israel Ministry of Foreign Affairs website. All right. Semitic immigrant workers in Egypt may have drifted back to Syria, Canaan in the 13th century for a variety of reasons. This event, had it been true, is generally held to have taken place toward the end of the 13th century BCE. All right, so they saying a lot of people are claiming the 13th century BCE. This is Finkelstein. I know a lot of people hearing about him, just going to his side of the other side of it, saying why they saying it didn't exist. And looking for evidence on the ground in Canaan from the 13th century. However, archaeologists generally cite a dearth of evidence. As such, while the general scholarly consensus puts the biblical exodus and entry in the 13th century, the general consensus is also that it did not happen. A lack of evidence of Joshua's conquest in the 13th century BC and the indistinguishable nature of pottery, architecture, literary conventions, and other cultural details between the Canaanites and new settlers. The case for a literal reading of Exodus all but collapses. It is just an autochthonous group of the end of the 13th century sitting there somewhere in the highlands of Canaan. The consensus of the modern scholars is that the Bible does not give an accurate account of the origin of Israelites. The Exodus does not happen as written in the Bible during the 13th century. This is from Finkelstein. This is what he's saying. All right, so this is what he started trying to put the dates and get people to understand it might didn't be 1300. So, but did you know that the Bible does not state that the Exodus occurred in the 13th century BCE? In fact, biblical chronology shows that Exodus is no way could have happened during the 13th century. So should it be any surprise that the 13th century finds of the ground do not match the biblical Exodus? Such a lack of finds for this period then only serves to corroborate the biblical account. How can the Bible be condemned for something identical to what it says? Let's examine what the Bible says about the Israelite Exodus and arrival in Canaan happened, how the 13th century date came into vogue, and where any corroborative evidence lies. All right. Let's go to the Israelite kings. So this is what he started dealing with the dates and saying what he believes the dates is going to be, but he's going to lead it to it. The period of the Israelite kings has been well established, pairing the detailed biblical chronological information with datable archaeological discoveries. Numerous foreign inscriptions mention contemporaneous kings. King Ahab, for example, is mentioned in the Cork monolith in the context of the Battle of Karkar, linking his reign to the several other regional rulers and chronologies. There is also the Black obelisk mentioned in the tribute of King Jehu in 841 BCE. Okay, this is right there. I like showing artifacts and stuff, stones. And with Solomon's reign beginning this one you got to start paying attention. When Solomon's reign began in 971 BCE and his temple building commencing in 967 BCE. The date of 967 BCE is the widely recognized date for the construction of the temple and has been refined right down to the nearest year, not only by accident, artifacts, and biblical chronologies, but also independently of both, using the remarkable agreeing data preserved by historians and classical antiquity, based variously on how the temple date relates to their records and establishment of Rome, Carthage, Tyre, and the fall of Troy. Okay. So So when people say there ain't no dates and stuff, they can't compare no dates. They not telling the truth, and they saying that don't nobody say the Exodus did exist or there's no proof of it. They're lying about that. So stop listening to these people, like I said before. Was the Exodus between 1500 to 1400 BCE, and that date of 967 BCE is critical to this discussion. 1 Kings 6:1 reads, "And it came to pass in the 408th year after the children of Israel will come out of the land of Egypt, in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, in the month Ziv, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house, the Lord, from where it is simple math." Hold on. Which is the 2nd month that he began to build the house of the Lord. From here, it is the simple math. 480 years earlier than 967 BCE brings us to the Exodus date of 1447 to 1446. Subtract the 40 years of sojourn in the wilderness, and that brings us to the entry into Canaan around 1407 to 1406 BCE. That's nowhere near the 13th century. That's 2 centuries earlier, the 15th century BCE. Okay. Other evidence of the Exodus dates being 1500. So we starting to go and say that 1300. Now they won't there. Let's go to the 14, 15s and let's see if it collaborate with the biblical. One of the later biblical judges on the scene before the monarchical period was Jephthah. Based on the eternal dates in the book of Judges, he would have been on the scene about the century before David, around 1100 BCE, during the time of Judge. It's a territorial dispute with the Amorites. Arose over land in Israel had conquered just before Moses' death. I'm just going to say Jep questioned the timing of the Amorite king, desired to reclaim the land, while Israel dwelt in this area by the side of Arnon. 300 years, wherefore did ye not recover it within that time? Judges 11:26. Israel, to the point, had already been in the land roughly 300 years. Again, the math is simple. 300 years before 1100 BCE, because when you were doing BCE, you're going downward, not upward, okay? Gives an entry into the promised land date of about 1400 BCE, 40 years of sojourning. Earlier brings us to the Exodus. Solomon and Jep are in precise agreement that biblical Exodus took place in the middle 15th century BCE, with the entry into the promised land at the end of that century. Okay. Manetho's claim of Amenhotep was the Exodus pharaoh. And I think I've heard Rams before, so I didn't put that up, but so I seen this, and this was like new to me, so I wanted to share this. And as for the name of Exodus pharaoh, there has been endless speculation with dozens of different Egyptian pharaohs proposed by many dozens more researchers as candidates for the figure behind the Exodus. Actually, there is a quite good historical reason for why he is not specifically named in the biblical account. Nevertheless, the 3rd century BCE Egyptian historian Manetho identifies him as the pharaoh named Amenhotep, even though we know it was a couple of them. Okay, pharaohs with the name ruled Egypt from the late 16th to the mid 14th centuries BCE, again fitting squarely with the biblical time frame of an early 15th century Exodus. Okay, so again, he's trying to fit the times in and letting you know, because if you're talking about the time, then you got to understand and try to find the pharaoh and all that stuff at the time, and this is the stuff that they're doing, working on. Israel did not destroy all Canaan. Did you know the biblical invasion of Canaan was not a city-by-city destruction? In fact, the Bible specifies just 3 cities as being reduced to ashes by the Israelites: Jericho, and Hazor. More of the further down, the Bible actually takes pains to mention the preservation of Canaanite city structures, as opposed to destroying them. Joshua 11:13. But as for the cities that stood on their mounds, Israel burned none of them, save Hazor only. This following the destruction of Jericho and Ar. Instead of the Babel, describes numerous stage land battles with the Canaanites. City destruction as good fit with the latter bloody judges time period. So we know that they did not destroy Canaan, because if you look at the historical jumps, we actually joined with them and actually started worshiping gods with them. You know, a lot of that stuff happened when I talk about it. That's what I mean when I talk about affluence through invasion. All right. Israelites moved to existing cities in Canaan and cultural differences. Besides this, what about the general lack of definitive evidence of cultural change to a new population, change in dwelling, pottery, something that did not start to become more noticeable until the 13th century and beyond? The Bible itself promptly states that this would be the case. Deuteronomy 6 reveals that the Israelites would simply move into existence Canaanite cities again rather than destroying them, and would continue to use their equipment and work their fields to give thee great and goodly cities, which thou dost not build, and the houses full of all goods, which thou dost not fill, and cisterns hewn out, which thou didst not hew, vineyards and old olive trees, which thou didst not plant. Verses 10 and 11, in one respect, there would be somewhat of a cultural difference. The abstaining from non-kosher foods, something unique from Canaanites, as long as Israelites adhere to those commands. And evidence of this, as well as certain other unique sacrifice peculiarities. All right. So this is talk about how we actually joined into the cities. Again, we didn't destroy all. It says we joined in. Same way, kind of like the Akkadians joined into the Sumerians and made it a greater land. All right. Showing the archaeological characteristic of Israel. Four horn altars are known as characteristically Israelite. Verses throughout the Bible describe the requirement of altars to be created with the horns on each corner, and thou shalt make the horns of it upon the four corners thereof. Exodus 27:2. During sacrifices, blood would be placed on each of the horns of the altar. Exodus 29:12. Also, intriguingly, the altar horns were regarded as a place of safety. Both the traders, Adonijah and Joab, who attempted to usurp King Solomon, fled to the tabernacle altar, clinging onto the horns for dear life. Okay, so I got this. This is part of where the altar was at. That was in Canaan. You know, Israelites started worshiping pagan gods. Now, I'm showing this, and I like showing this because people, like I said, try to make it seem like Israelites didn't exist. And a lot of scholars are not saying that, and they're saying that we actually was amongst them. And when we talk about the Canaanites, Israel has been named with them. And there's other nations that was inside of Canaan, and all of them was not under one. It's just like Africa when you have different nations under name. Everybody was united under one name called Canaan. Okay. Israelites started worshiping pagan gods. Further, the Bible reveals that Israelites failed to drive out the bulk of the Canaanite population, even turned to the Canaanite paganism themselves. Judges 1 and 3, Judges 5, according to eternal biblical chronology. It's set around the 13th century BCE. It eliminates the earlier state of poverty that Israel as a nation was in up to that point. The highways seized and the travelers walked through byways. The rulers seized in Israel. They chose new gods. Then was war in the gates. Was there a shield or a spear even among 40,000 in Israel? Verses 6 to 8. But then note what occurred during the 13th century BC. Awake, 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 arise, let the captivity captive. Then made he a remnant. Other translations read Israelite survivors. to have dominion over the nobles and the people. Verses 12 and 13. The passage proceeds to show that the rise of Israel as a larger body out of the obscurity of Canaanite oppression during the 13th century. Okay? So then they got to a time where the Canaanite was oppressing us. We heard that. The Amarna ladders in the British Museum. But as stated above, conquest at the time, 1400 BCE, went into the 14th century, was primarily in the form of the land battles and territorial seizures, while a lack of physical evidence is often cited as an evidence against the Israelite conquest. This is somewhat misleading because there is an abundance of textual evidence. Amarna letters are a trove of Canaanite documents dating to the early mid-14th century BCE, uncovered in Egyptian city of Amarna. The cuneiform tablets were sent from leaders, mayors throughout Canaan to the pharaohs, who largely controlled Canaan at the time. When I'm talking, and that's talking about when Canaan and Egypt actually took over. Canaan had Egypt, a part of Egypt for a while, and Egypt took over Canaan for a while. That's why that's why they was connected like that. Okay. Many of the letters are written in a tone of sheer desperation for military aid, describing the entire land being overrun by an invading people named the Habaru. Here are some examples. Okay, so like I said, that's the connection of the Israelites, Canaan, and Egypt. All that stuff was connected. So just showing y'all that evidence of the establishment of Israel. The list of evidence for the establishment of Israel in the land of the end of the 15th century through the first half of the 14th century could go on. There's the 13th century Marinette Patal stele, which directly mentions Israel as an already well-established entity in the land by that point. There is the Berlin pedestal, for which dating is contested, but which appears to reference the presence of Israel in the land perhaps during the 14th century or even as early as the 15th century. Amenhotep speaking on the people of Yahweh. I heard the dude talk about yesterday, talking about the Shashu was, Mexican, but that, no. But then there is the late 15th century Celeb inscription of Pharaoh Amenhotep III, referencing a nomadic people of Yahweh. This is the earliest known inscription bearing the name God Yahweh and is in the context of territory somewhere in around Canaan. This is especially significant given the prior to God's instruction to Moses. This name Yahweh was not known to the Israelites or their forefathers. Exodus 6:2 and 3, nor to Egypt pharaohs. This acknowledgement of the name of this prescription therefore tidily fits with the 16th, 15th century Moses and the mid-15th century Exodus, but requires explaining anyway in order to fit an Exodus several centuries later. Okay. Is there evidence of Israelite slavery in Egypt? There is also perhaps the most dramatic snapshot of Israelite slavery in Egypt of the brick-making sort described in Exodus 5 in the tomb art of Egyptian noble Rekhmer. This description shows Eastern Semitic slaves making bricks in the very same manner described in the Exodus 5 oppression, just before they were freed from Egypt. What is the dating from the tomb of art? Around the middle of 15th century BCE. Now, this is what we got to understand. Even when Israel wasn't a nation or called Israel, we still had Semitic people, and the Semitic people is where Israel comes from. We're a Semitic people, Afro-Asiatic people, what they call us today. If you look up the language, we're under Afro-Asiatic. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to tell you people, that a lot of times when you talk about the Semitic people, you're talking about our ancestors, all right, as Israelites. Let me see. Hyksos in Egypt. That there is an external evidence for the early date of the Exodus from Egypt itself as tied to the 16th century BCE. Egyptian oppression and overthrow of the Semitic Hyksos population and their expulsion thereafter east from the land. Joseph directly identifies these people as the Israelites, translating their Hyksos title as shepherd kings. The Egyptian historian Menetho describes these Hyksos as having, following their departure from Egypt, built a city in the country which is now called Judah and called in Jerusalem, as quoted in Josephus against Apon 114. More about the Hyksos and related Egyptian evidence of the Exodus itself can be found here. So, I mean, that's the website. You gotta see the website you go to, you can find that. And again, as with the eternal biblical points for an early Exodus date, the list of outside evidence from archaeology and classical history could go on. So they saying it's all type of evidence, man. I don't know why these people acting like there's no evidence, like it's just some stuff that just didn't happen, you know. Is that fair though? As we have covered, relating to the dating of Israel emergence following the Exodus. It most certainly is not, of course. Much still remains to be found relating to the Israelite Exodus and appearance in Canaan. But as their saying goes, absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. After all, the contemporary biblical Hittite kingdom was once scoffed at as entirely fictional until this was discovered in the early 20th century as one of the most powerful empires in ancient history. Forget wandering Israelite nomads. How do you lose an entire empire? But what has been found relating to the Israelite Exodus and conquest remarkably attests to the biblical account. One of the Exodus during the mid-15th century BCE and conquest of Canaan at the end of that century. This despite a widespread bias towards entirely the wrong period. All right. Canaan and Israel. The University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology. Okay, this is what these sources come. Artifacts appearing in the Museum Canaan and Ancient Israel Gallery were drawn from the museum's Syro-Palestinian collection of over 15,000 artifacts, which came from these archaeological excavations: Tel Beth Shemesh, Tel Beth Sheen, Gibeon, Tel Es, Saadaye, Repta, and the Baca Valley. Okay, these are artifacts. They find they find all the type of artifacts of Israel. They're doing these things, and they finding a lot of stuff, and they comparing it. And this is what you're supposed to do when you study. You don't do it off of biasness and just trying to prove something wrong. You're supposed to do it by taking both and comparing it and trying to get an understanding of where proof is coming from and the evidence they show. Canaan never was a united nation. The land known as Canaan was situated in the territory of the southern Levant, which today encompasses Israel, the west being of Gaza, Jordan, and the southern portions of Syria, and the Lebanon throughout time. Many names have been given to this area, including Palestine, Ertz, Israel, Balad, Shem, and the Holy Land of the Jai. The earliest known name for this area was Canaan. The inhabitants of Canaan were never ethnically or politically unified as a single nation. They did, however, share sufficient similarities in language and culture to be described together as Canaanites. Israel refers to both of the people within Canaan, to a latter to the political entity formed by those people. To the authors of the Bible, Canaan is the land which the tribes of Israel conquered after the Exodus from Egypt, and the Canaanites are the people they disposed from the land. The Old Testament of the Bible, as known as Tanakh, is principally concerned with the religious history of Israel and Canaan. In addition to the stories of their Babel, archaeology has provided us with another perspective for viewing the cultures of Canaan and ancient Israel. This perspective is built upon the social and historical context of material remains which these people have left behind. Through studying these remains, we may better understand the culture of ancient Canaanites and Israelites. I just want to show one of the places they were talking about Tel Beth, Shemesh. Is one of the places they are doing archaeology already digging up. Elihu Grant of Haverford College directed excavations of Beth Shemesh, a 7-acre tell or mount situated about 12 miles west of Jerusalem, known as the Bible as the birthplace of Joshua. The Hebrew name apparently preserves the tradition of an older Canaanite temple. The remains are from the Middle Bronze Age through the Byzantine period, 19 BCE to 830 BC. Okay. The site, Beth Shean, is located on a large 10-acre mount. Project directors Clarence Fisher, Alan Rowe, and Gerald Fitzgerald he got too many, excavated 18 city levels dating from the late Neolithic period, 4500 BCE, through the 12th century CE. At the time of the conquest, according to the Bible, Beth Shean is one of the cities from which the Israelites did not rout the Canaanites. Joshua 17:11, Judges 1:27, and the city unto whose walls the Philistine fastened the body of Saul and those of his sons. All right. Now these are people who, on the other side, who are trying to claim that Israel had no gods. Let's see what they say. All right. Claim Israel had no gods before coming into Canaan. Canaanite, Phoenician, God of Israelites, Phoenicia.org. Okay. The Israelite religion began as a henotheistic offshoot of the Canaanite worship of El. All along, along with the secondary ethnic Yahweh, which refers to El Yahweh Sabaoth, often translated as Lord of Hosts. It likely means El, who creates the armies. El who was the supreme god of the Mesopotamian Shemites. Later became the chief god of the Hebrew Bible in Canaan. He was known to be the father and the ruler of the divines, as well as the creator god of the Jews, evolved gradually from the Canaanite El, who was in the high god of the pantheon, to Israel, the chief god of the Hebrews. The essential qualities of the Canaanite El were retained in the God of the Hebrews, along with the memories of the theogony of El and gods. Over time, the Israelite God of the Canaanites converged the sky gods El and his son Belial, Hadad, and El was conflated as Yahweh. Early on, the Israelites also worshiped Yahweh along with his wife Asherah, who was originally the consort of El in the Canaanite tradition. For a long time, scholars of the Hebrew Bible concluded that major difference between the God of the Bible and the gods of other traditions was that so-called pagan gods had sexual lives and consorts. Yet Yahweh did not maintain his wife Asherah as a consort. In the late 20th century, archaeologists uncovered two intriguing inscriptions from two different Middle East sites. The inscriptions were blessings not only in the name of Yahweh, but also his consort, Asherah. Over time, there was a push towards monolatry, the worship of one God among many, but not necessarily denying the existence of other gods. This made the Israelites focus on Yahweh and to compel them to make it appear that there was a greater divine between Yahweh and the older god Belial. Thus, in order to build up emphasis of the distinction between Yahweh and Belial, the Hebrew text goes into great lengths to make Yahweh's conflict with Belial apparent. This marks the trend of Israel rejecting its heritage. The attempts by monotheistic um, of the Israelites' religion failed to define Azarah as a rock or pole instead of the goddess. Poles and large stones were in the main feature of the Canaanite temples and were placed in their most holy places. Thereupon, the Israelites were always well aware of the holiness of such representations of Azarah in Canaanite temples, hence, they accommodated them to their own temples as well. Now, this is what they're trying to say. They're trying to say that basically the Israelite borrowed from the Canaanite and then tried to separate um, Yahweh from El. You see what I'm saying? So this is what they trying to claim on that. All right, claim that Yahweh and Belial are connected. The connection between Yahweh and Belial is undeniable. We found narrative instances of Israelites undertaking and understand the connection in parts of the Hebrew text, such as Exodus 32:8, crafting of the bull by Aaron by the Hebrews when Moses was on Sinai. Their bulls were referred to as gods, and which it is said, "There are your gods of Israel." We see in the Israelite religion precisely what one should expect to see from a religion evolving from assimilating surrounding religions. In numerous passages, Yahweh is depicted as any ancient Near East storm deity, the most notable of which is Belial Hadad. Like Belial, Yahweh is a warrior who descends from his mountain home, hiding in the chariot of the clouds. His voice is the thunder, and his weapon is lightning and earthquakes. The skies release rain at his command. In primeval times, he asserted his authority by defeating the sea, becoming the ruler of the skies. Exodus 15:3 reads, Yahweh is a warrior. Yahweh is his name. Numbers 23:22, El, who brings them out of Egypt, is for them the horns of the wild bull. Numbers 28:8, El, who brings them out of Egypt, is like the horns of Egypt, foes and break their bones. El, the Canaanites were also called bull and warrior. Here are some examples of parallels between Belial and Yahweh, as assisted by the Ugaritic literature in the Belial cycle in Hebrew Bible. I mean, that's why I say personally, I don't really say Yahweh, you know what I mean? Because I understood that it really just a title of mean, it really supposed to mean below, and some people compare it to Belial, you know what I'm saying? So, like I say Yah, I say the self-existing one, or, short for Yahweh, stuff like that, but it's all titles, okay? And there's other sources that say that actually we brought El into it. So because it's a Semitic word. See, there El was a real original God, but then you have El was Elohim, that means God. So it could be the different because you have the Semitic could be so because the Semitic languages could be close. Okay. Let me tell you, Prince Belial. Let me repeat this from the Canaanite writing. Let me tell you, Prince Belial, let me repeat, rider on the clouds. Now your enemy Belial, now you will kill your enemy. Now you will annihilate your foe. You will take your eternal kingship, your dominion forever and ever. And the Hebrew Bible reads, behold your enemies, Yahweh. Behold your enemies perish. All evildoers are scattered. Your kingship is an eternal kingship. Your domain is forever and ever. So they're just trying to compare the writings. I just on my scene on there. Canaanite Phoenician god El Belial Hadad is the Lord of the sky who governs the rain and thus the germination of plants, fertility, protector of life and growth, mountain of the west wind. From the root name El, the ancient gods' names were derived. Examples: Aramaic Elu, Hebrew Elohim, and Arabic Allah. Which, like again, it's just this title. Okay. Christian amulet from the Cyprus, which associates Re and Osiris with Yahweh and Jesus. Okay. So this is the stuff they're trying to say. Like I said before, this is not me. None of my claims. This is claims from both sides of arguments that I'm showing. The real religion of ancient Israel, almost everything the biblical writers condemned, the whole theology of the Hebrew Bible would have been foreign to most people. Professor William G. Dever, archaeologist, anthropologist, University of Arizona, the Hebrew Bible is not a very good source of reconstructing the real religions of ancient Israel for many reasons. The Bible was written by a handful of elites who were attached to the court and temple of Jerusalem. They were not representatives of the majority of the people, but were members of an ultra-Orthodox nationalist party. What they did was to do revisionist history. They rewrote the history of Israel using older sources than the story we have today. The Minority Report paints an idealistic picture of what Israelites' belief and practice should have been like, but never was. It would have been had these nationalists been in charge, but they never were. So what you get is a portrait of a certain Israel that is a later construct. This Minority Report tries to reconstruct religion to a suit that few who wrote the Bible. The biblical text, as well, have it was put together after the fall of Jerusalem during the exile, after the history of Israel was over. That was long after events had transpired, and some case centuries later. For these reasons, the Bible is now reviewed as secondary source for understanding the real ancient Israel and Judah. Where would you go to find out the real Israel in the Iron Age? Archaeology proves us with another window through which to look at the Israelite beliefs and practices and the new tools of understanding ancient Israel. Archaeology is about the real people in real time and real place. They really did exist, and now we know a lot about them. I hear that. There's archaeologists saying that they don't even agree with the as the biblical terms being 100% correct. Read that again. They really did exist. Now we know a lot about them. In the last 20 to 30, this science has revolutionized our understanding of Israelite religion. This has given the ancient Israelites a voice, and they have speak from a different perspective as the one in the Bible. In the short clip, Dr. William Dever covers just a few things to us, an idea what is actually like for most people most of the time in ancient Israel and Judah. It gives us some idea of what people were actually doing in the name of their religion. The real religion of ancient Israel is almost everything the biblical writers condemn. Most people in ancient Israel had never been to Jerusalem. They certainly have never been to the Temple of Jerusalem, which was a royal chapel and could be visited mostly by priests and the high priests. If those people if those people had to Babel, they couldn't read it anyway because they were illiterate. As far as we know, perhaps, and that's crazy how you write that part when they say illiterate. As far as we know, perhaps only 1 or 2% of the population was literate. Okay. Is this a proto-Israelite house? This plan shows the 12th century BCE workers' house in the western Thebes next to the temple of Aya and Horumheb. The house, undoubtedly a 4-room house in Canaan. The 4-room house is considered an ethnic marker for the presence of Israelites during the Iron Age. Is biblical Exodus fact or fiction? This favors fact. So the question becomes, when did Exodus happen? The presence of such a house in Egypt during the 12th century BCE seems to support an Exodus during the Ramesses. So this is the people, because you got people saying maybe it was the time of Amenhotep and Ramesses. Then some say the 13th century. This is how archaeology, these people work. So these people don't know. These are theories from their studies. Okay? Fact or fiction? So is the biblical Exodus facts or fiction? Scholars and people of many faiths line up on either side of the equation, and some say both. Archaeological discoveries have verified that parts of the biblical Exodus are historically accurate, but archaeology can't tell us everything. Although archaeology can't eliminate illuminate aspects of the past and bring parts of history to life. It has its limits, and certainly is exciting with the archaeological records matches with the biblical account, as with the example described here. However, while the evidence certainly adds weight to historical accuracy of elements of the biblical account, it can't be used to prove that every detail of Exodus story is the Bible is true. And that's what I'm talking about when I talk about the myth. A myth is not something that's fake. A myth is based off a real event, but the story might not be 100% correct. And that's how I study history, okay? So that was my last part of that part. I hope y'all enjoy. Just some information. Hey, y'all take this, y'all study, y'all build on it, update on it. Um, you know, um, Come with this fire, man. We got to stop letting these people come and tell us with these people that these people are denying and saying these stuff ain't true. It's evidence all over, and it's stuff that even the archaeologists that don't agree are saying that happened. Okay, all right. Um, and thank you, Karima, for letting me come in here and build. She's a real busy woman, man. I need to respect her at all times and honor her as the queen of the lands. Then, okay. And y'all get ready for that debate and stuff like that that's coming up. And we're gonna head out. Let me see. Facts. Okay, Canaanite Moses, Egyptians were Canaanites at the time. Okay, yeah, that's what I said. Canaanites did run Egypt at the time, and Egypt ran the Canaanites at the time. And they have proof for artifacts and stuff to say both of them influenced each other.
My professors said that there are a lot of theologians that went back and studied and found a lot of evidence that supports a lot of what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's have everybody. There's one thing I do is putting that work in for. Remember, God said that we'll build a pillar in the middle of Egypt. Remember? Okay, thanks. All right, Karima, you there? Let's see. Even found. Oh yeah, hit that like button, subscribe. I love putting this work in building with y'all. Anybody got any questions before Karima come back? Panel question. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, anybody got any questions? Anybody got anything to say before Karima come and shut it down? Let me know. Like I said before, stop letting these people tell you and that stuff don't exist and there's no evidence and stuff because these people are doing it off of biasness. They're not doing it off trying to really teach people, and they use that saying "I'm trying to teach people" when they're really not. Let's see. I can't do it. Let me see if everybody please hit the like. Please hit that. We put that information in. So just go back and restudy, man, and don't let these people tell you this. That really ain't really, trying to really teach you about this stuff and say that ain't no evidence because it's crazy.
Father says that my people are lost
For the lack of knowledge. Yeah. People are lost for the lack of knowledge. And a lot of these people that hate God, let's be for real, they have went through something that made them angry and now they want to, lash out. And lash out at God and say that he's not real because of hurt they had.
Yeah. But what did he say? That we're going to suffer. We're going to suffer. We're going to have trials. We're going to have tribulations.
Yeah. There, Karina. Oh yeah, let me stop this. Yeah. There you go. Let's see. So said Ramsey was a Canaanite. Huh. I would like to see that evidence on that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some of y'all didn't. That was my little brother, and he's a minister, and he teaches. Is what I believe in, what he believed in doesn't matter. I love the message that he sent on this about Job. People don't hate God, but they feel let down by their so-called father that's supposed to protect and provide. Because people don't know who God is, and people don't understand. People always want to blame God for everything. People always want to say, "Or why God didn't do this, why God didn't do that, and why this going on." But He set laws. We got universal laws. We got things we know. We know that we don't supposed to kill. We know that we don't supposed to rape. We know we don't supposed to steal. We know we don't supposed to go to war. We know we ain't supposed to eat. Biblically, we ain't supposed to eat the apple. We know we ain't supposed to do a lot of these things. But we do it, and then when stuff happens and we destroying ourselves, and we destroying our communities, and we destroying the world, we want to blame God.
Can they hear me?
Yeah, I think they can hear you.
Well, I don't want them to take him up. Once again, I know who I am.
Oh yeah, this is my brother David right here. You know what I'm saying? He was studying himself. That's what he said.
A lot of times we do want to blame the Father then without thinking. A lot of the problems that we go through, we cause ourselves, and then want Him to fix it. That's not how this works.
Yeah, exactly. We gotta stop blaming God for everything, man. When we're doing it ourselves.
Just like
God ain't raping no child. Man, that man that's raping child raping.
Yeah.
Decided to rape that child.
That's like you going to your mother and father and blaming them for your adult life. No.
How can God be loved and yet jealous and destructive against even the innocent? Though? Now, like, show me the innocent.
Yeah.
See, that you should have said, like, show me what you mean by innocent, because he told you that when you do certain things are going to happen. These people and these nations and these people want to turn it back to God and bash God, and then when something happens to them, they want to blame him. I don't understand. Why would God help you, your nation? Why would God help your people you don't even believe in?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And why is people who don't believe in God always blaming God? Why are y'all people that don't believe in God always saying that you're God when you got that directly from the Bible? Why do I see most atheists and satanics out here that using more scripture than I see Christians? But then you don't believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And see that's the problem that I have. Like a person said, why God got homeless people? Or this, you mean the same homeless people most of y'all walk by every day? Yeah, I walk by these homeless people every day, but you act like you care that much of what God ain't doing. That's what we got to stop.
God didn't cause them to be homeless. That's society.
Yeah, I mean, Elohim is God is everything. God is everything. He's more than we can imagine. He is love. He's jealous. Why wouldn't I be jealous? If I created you and I put you in a place and I gave you what you needed and you turn your back to me, why wouldn't I be mad? Why wouldn't I be angry?
There's over 200 some laws, commandments, and we don't follow none of them.
Yeah.
Hey, let's keep it real.
Yeah, so let's see what anybody else has to say about that. Facts. These people don't like rules at all. They want to eat pork like they love it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, I mean, people don't want to follow. People don't want to follow the laws. People don't want to follow the rules. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to have stuff over them, but they'll follow the American law.
Yeah.
They'll tell you to follow American law all day, but they won't follow the laws of the Most High. They won't follow the laws that where He's trying to really get you out of this, the conditions that we in, and then we wonder why we in these conditions because you're running to the sun. You're calling yourself the most high, like you are really the creator. Like talking about consciousness created the universe. It ain't no, and that is the most pseudo thing ever. But then you want to come against people who y'all try to call pseudo because they have a belief in the Most High. Because even science has stuff that they can't automatically prove, and they understand it. Man, it could be something else, but they just not going to tell you that.
Yeah. But I've learned where scientists they don't try to disprove his existence at all. And then there's others that they follow the Big Bang theory, but it just didn't happen by itself.
Exactly. They believe these people actually know about that two atoms was flying in the universe, they crashed against each other, and then start creating the world, created grass, created humans. Like this, that's nonsense. You know what I'm saying?
That's a hypocrite.
Yeah, that's another form of religion.
Yeah.
But they're trying to tell you just because it's under the name science that it's fact.
The problem is the people period is that they want to follow religion, and religion makes stuff dirty.
Yeah.
I mean, just like let's just call it for what it is. Religion makes things dirty. Stop following religion. Stop following Christianity, Baptist, and Islam, all this. Just follow the Most High. Period.
That's when people ask me what I am. I am Yah only. Okay, I'm Yah only. I'm the self. I believe in a self-existing one. That always existed, that never died, forever living. I am God because I'm child of the Most High. I say it right there. Psalms 82.
Yeah.
They say, ye are gods because of why you are children of the Most High. If you ain't a child of the Most High, you ain't God.
Yeah, that's why I call myself a child of God. I stopped calling myself a Christian. Like I don't, and like it may sound crazy, but I don't call myself Hebrew because we're still lost.
Yeah.
Like I can't call myself that until He comes back Himself.
Yeah.
And claim me as His child.
Because what happened is, like I tell people, a lot of this stuff has become a religion. And we got to understand that we was a nationality at first. We had land, we had culture, we had laws, we had worship, we had temples, we had kingship, we had priests. You know what I'm saying? That established the laws, enforced them. We had all these things. We were greater than than this place we call America right now. We had all this. You know what I'm saying? We didn't. A lot of people don't understand that one of the laws that really got us kicked out was called the sabbatical land law. It was that every 7 years, you rest the land. It was simple things that He wanted us to do, and we just couldn't do it. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that today. We living in a society. Look at all the technology. Look at the stuff we get, but we still are being wicked. We still are turning our back on God. We think this technology. We think this science. We think these people who are just like you, who bleed like you, and really don't know as much when it comes outside the world. Like, I don't know why people listen to people when it comes to the universe. You know what I'm saying? Like, they really know this stuff.
For us as a people.
Peace, JJ. Be real, a lot of folks not eating pork and still running a hella wicked lifestyle, period. Yeah. People are living wicked. You know what I'm saying? And we're humans. And that's what people ought to understand. And that's why I'm trying to get people to understand the laws. The laws are not meant for an individual. The laws are meant for a nation of people. That's why He gave you the laws when you went into the land, because it's a nation of people. The sabbatical law is not a individual law. That's not something I have to do as an individual. You have different types of law. You have the moral law. You have the dietary law. Then as an individual, you can do these things, right? And every law is not death. So certain things, but it is death. Like when I mean it is death, when he says don't eat certain things and you eat it, we understand through science and through history and how the Negro is down now of America is things we shouldn't eat that does kill us. You know what I'm saying? So we got to start understanding that these laws were made for a nation of people that was established under the rules and laws and commandments. The commandments are we're supposed to follow because we can follow that because it's not a national thing. All it is basically loving your brother, not messing with your brother's wife, loving God, and not being an idol worship. That's what most of this stuff. That's what most of the Ten Commandments about. The laws are establishing how you live in a nation as a nationality. When we leave America, and you're talking about establishing a new kingdom, what laws are you going to use?
Yeah.
You can't just go somewhere and establish a nation with no laws because you will be wild beasts. It would be killing everywhere, it would be raping everywhere. Then guess what? You're going to have to make laws to civilize the people.
You can't have chaos going
Yeah.
over into.
And if you're gonna leave and establish the same American law, you know what I'm saying, the same American law, and leave out that, what are you leaving America for? So what laws are you establishing? When Demona went into Demona, what laws are they following? They're trying to follow the laws of the Old Testament and the commandments. That's what they're trying to do. Of course, there's always going to be people to sin. There's always going to be wickedness because that is the human nature. And the human nature came in when we first introduced ourselves into sin. That's DNA. You introduce yourself into it, it comes inside. It became part of our DNA, and they pass it on. That's why I say you're born in sin.
Yeah, it's like a infection. It's like cancer, basically. But like it's like people. It's like you gotta understand. Sin.
I never say it was Israelite. Anybody knows. Anybody knows. Anybody knows that I'm not a race person. I'm not no racist person. I don't just say this person evil. Anybody in any race and any nationality could be evil. Could be Satan, which is adversary.
Yeah.
So anybody could be that.
Don't care if you're black, white, Puerto Rican, whatever.
You know, and I speak on that all the time. So I'm not a person that's gonna, because again, I'm not in the group. I'm not in nothing. I say I am y'all only. I'm a researcher. And that's what I do. I don't research off the bastards. I don't say what's wrong or what's right. I put the information, compare it together, and put it in front of you. So when you look at it, you can say, okay, I'm going this way. I'm going to learn this way. And that's what I do. You know what I'm saying? Because nothing really matters to me but the Most High. I don't care about nothing but Most High. But the Bible, the Quran. I ain't going to say I don't care. Let me not say that. I'm just saying I don't put it in front of the Most High. Let me say that. I'm saying the Most High is everything. The Most High was before any book, anything, any human, before the earth was formed. So anybody saying that it's just a God of a one book is not. The God was before all of this.
Yeah. No, for everybody that keeps saying, it's a race thing, y'all gotta quit that, because the Father didn't see color. First of all, like color wasn't even a thing.
Exactly.
Like when he
was nationality.
Yeah.
It was nationality.
And like it wasn't even then for real, because everybody looked the same. Like if anybody reads on the Bible, like nationality, race, color, and whatnot, probably didn't come as far as on scripture until he split the tongue. And then people branched out.
Yeah. But
color still wasn't an issue. And from what I've learned, color didn't come into play until like the Spanish in opposition.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't tell people apart by like religion, so they used color to separate them.
Well, let me tell you this. You're saying that we're aborting, we're doing all this stuff, but for us to say this, and see, people want to say, well, you can't keep being a victim. No, we are victims. Let me say that first. We are victims. If you study the slave trade, if you study sharecropping, if you study Jim Crow, if you study the civil rights movement, if you study the crack era, if you study the drill era that's coming now, These are Section 8. These are systematic things that was placed on you to become who you are. We are not gangsters. We were never gangsters. We adapted gangsterism from people that was before us, who they call mafia. Who, when you go to the gangs of New York, we established this stuff because when we became free, we became amongst these people, and we copied them. We were not like that. You see what I'm saying? Abortion is a systematic plan that we follow. Now, is it our fault for keep falling for it? Yes. But let's not act that this is our nature of doing these things that we're claiming. I'm not against the Canaanites at all. They just did wrong at the time. Melchizedek was a Canaanite. I mean, like I said, because when they say Canaan, I mean, I understand what you're saying. And when they say Canaanite, as we showed, it's not talking about a person. It's not talking about a whole united nation of people. It's just talking about people amongst their land. Even Israel is sometimes if they consider is a Canaanite because of where they at, because of the land. Just like you go to Africa, they say Africa, but everybody's not under the name Africa. They have different nations that's there that established. So this is what happened, and that's why it's confusion because they now they're trying to put all these people under one name.
It's like if somebody from Israel come over here, they become and then they now call themselves American. They become an American Israelite.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because they're in America.
Exactly.
But it doesn't make them not be it is relate anymore.
Yeah.
They're still they're just American.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like I said, a lot of people just Canaanites destroyed the Israelites a few times. Like I said, we was oppressed under the Israelites. We joined with them at certain times, and the times we was oppressed of them. I mean, if we want to be for real. So a lot of that stuff, like I said before, when you go back to my video I made, the myths and stuff are myths, and through invasion, trade, and influence. I'm showing you that when you invade a people or you get invaded, you most of the time become influenced. You will start. You could get influenced through trade. These people come in and they start coming and you trade with them, and then you like their culture, and they start influencing you.
Start acting like them.
Yeah,
start dressing like them.
Yep. You can invade the people, like they said when we came in into Canaan. We didn't destroy the Canaanites cities and stuff. We joined them. We kept them astray, and we joined it and made the kingdom bigger, just like we did just like the Semitics did in Mesopotamia, Samaria. You know what I'm saying? So this is the influence you can get, and then you can get invaded yourself and become influenced. Just like we are Americanized for influenced people. Most people in America were based off of Christianity.
Yeah.
Most people in South America are based off of what? Catholicism. Because of the invasion. Not because of just we wanted to be there, it's because a lot of that comes from invasion. Okay, Catholics are invasion from the queen and the king of Europe who set these people down. One was a Catholic, one was a Christian. So the places they took over, they controlled them through religion. This is the things they did.
That's why we say now that like Catholicism is like the leader of Christianity.
Daniel wasn't a Canaanite. I mean, I'm not. Like I said, when we saying this Canaanite thing, like it's like they're trying to make it as a race, and like I'm saying, they're not. It isn't a race of people. If you were in Canaan and you were living in Canaan, you could be considered a Canaanite
because you're from that land.
You're from the land. Just like some Egyptians wasn't even bloodline Egyptians, they were Canaanites to the other races. Yes, they were Canaanites because, like I said, Canaanite had a part of Egypt at one time. Egypt controlled a part of Canaanite and the influence, and and I actually did a show on that here on Lansdowne. What was it? It was the Canaanite. That one was the Canaanite and Egyptian relationship. of how both of them influenced each other, and Canaanites was in Egypt and was pushed back out into Canaan. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, I think they were like the Hyksos, Shemitic people, the Akkad, Shemitic people, and that's why we did a show the other day on Yahweh Israel when we did a show called the Afro-Asiatic. We were showing how the Semitics and the Israelites, the Akkad, the people like that are considered Afro-Asiatic, the Ethiopian, the Somalian. I mean, Somali, I put the languages up and put it together and showed how they had the same type of alphabet, everything. But the high priest that crowned Abraham was a Canaanite. The first Melchizedek was Canaanite.
So do you have to since what do you have to back that up?
Yeah, I want to see that. I mean, like I said, I want to see the evidence. I mean, if you're saying that, I would like to see the evidence. I'm not saying it's real or not true. I mean, if you have evidence on it, I would like to see it.
Because
I don't deny nothing until I see it.
Because this goes back to what my to what all of my teachers so far have been saying that there's been like so many teachers, like there's been so many people that go back and find information, but it's all mixed up, and they find writers from who wrote this, and then somebody else it's on the same thing and rewrote it, and it's been rewritten several times, so it's all mixed up.
That's why I try to show archaeology and show what that people keep saying is archaeology like it's straight facts, but it's not, because I just showed 3 different dates from an archaeologist. Because just because you find something don't mean you can decipher and understand the facts of it. It's about theories and what you think and the other evidence that you build around it. Okay. But Karima back. I hope y'all enjoy the show. She put it on if anybody want to jump on, she put the link down. Anybody want to get on the panel? Let me see what he said. And you torture people at Christ's coming. 2 Ezra 13 said Christ is going to use the law of Moses to torture people at his coming. Okay.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't read actually, so I don't really know. I mean, but hey, if you got this information, Mega, though, I've been seeing you always putting stuff up. I've never seen you like come on the show and do information though. But
I've read the Bible and I ain't see that.
Yeah, he's talking about the Apocrypha. I think he's talking about. Yeah, he's talking about the Apocrypha. Yeah. I had the Apocrypha. I've had the Apocrypha. I have all the other books that was taken out, but a lot of that stuff is Coptic. Yeah. A lot of that stuff is not really,
the same dates that like you showed my current teacher mentioned those same dates. You mentioned the all of the different books. The Noah's Father's book.
Oh yeah.
Book the one that you just now mentioned, the Apocrypha.
Apocrypha.
Yeah, he mentioned that. So, like everything that you're saying and that they're talking about, my teachers talk about.
Yeah, they did, and that's why I said that these atheists and these comedics, they don't really know. So what they're doing is it's just like somebody that's going to the Bible and try to try to pick out a scripture and try to say something. Just like when Sarnetta put out that scripture that said that Lucifer, who was Lucifer, and then you had Cesaria go and say Lucifer was an angelic being. But in verse 16, it tells you exactly Lucifer was a human, and then when you read the history, that Lucifer was a king of Babylon. And it was that simple, but people don't go like that. When you're a baz and you're trying to prove something wrong, you don't really study and you don't really research. You just go and pick up something and say, well, let me try to pick this out and catch somebody with it. Because most people don't research and they know this. You know what I'm saying? But they can't fool me with that because I know how archaeology works, I know how science works, I know how history works, and it's always changing. It ain't never going to be the same because a lot of these people that's claiming these things now, 10 years from later is going to be different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, thank you for letting me be on here, Karima. And I enjoyed the show, Lions Den. I always have my back hit and like. Oh, JJ. What's up, JJ? You want to get on here and say something? Yeah, he said teach. Thank you, brother. You know what I'm saying? Y'all always supported me, and I always, you know what I mean? I love that. You know what I'm saying? I always go rep the lines then. I always go and support y'all. I'm going to share y'all videos. I always, you know, got y'all back. The bottomless pit is within the borders of Israel. But thank you, Karima. You know, we're just gonna get on the panel. We better be out. Thank y'all for joining. Subscribe, like. The pit opens up in the midst of the great city. I'm the pit of the border of Israel. Again, I mean, you know,
What pit are you talking about?
Jubilee is 8. Okay.
Like what pit? What pit are you talking about? Pit of hell?
Yeah, I don't know. What he talking about? Oh yeah, yeah. But like I say, y'all watch it. Y'all be careful. Y'all research yourself. These people are putting out things. Make sure you watch the sources they get them from. Because I've heard. Let me tell you what I heard one time. I heard one of these people clown somebody for going into Wiki, right? Then I turn around and heard. But I don't really deal with Wiki. I go to like universities, and you know, I go on Google Scholar and you know, Google books that you know I learned that from Comnection. He told me that part. But I heard these people like Uncle them say and clown people back in the day for going on Wikipedia, for going on Bible archaeology. But then I turned around and see on one day debating with Commission and go straight to Bible archaeology to prove his point. And this is an atheist. So let's imagine the atheist going to the Bible, not Bible archaeology to prove somebody else wrong. You know, I just find that funny.
See, now he turned himself from teacher to a hypocrite and run up look like a fool yourself.
Yeah. Shalom Joseph, son of Israel. The abyss is the bottomless pit in Jubilees 8, the midst of the great city, Babylon the Great. Okay, I'm going to check that out. Thanks for the info. I'm going to check that out, see what you're talking about.
Right now, the city's supposed to be being rebuilt.
Yeah. Well, whenever Karima come back, we will end. But I'm just gonna keep talking until we finish. Okay? Until we're ready. Things I don't listen to Unc at all. He think he. I don't listen to Unc at all. He think we are monkeys. Hey, look, let me tell you something. Like I just did a jump right on evolution. I did a post. Now, evolution. Now this is because I've heard outside the class where he was in. I tried to Coop say this one time, and he was talking about coming from fish. Now I pointed this out a long time ago when I was talking to evolution. I said, man, y'all don't teach me come from apes. That's like the later class of evolution they're talking about. They teach me it was an organism, I guess a water-being organism, that turned into like a water type fish being. It turned into a fish. You know, how somehow got out the water.
Like a mermaid.
Yeah, somehow got out the water, turned to a lizard. And then that lizard, I guess, started getting hail or something. And then he turned into some type of monkey. The tail turned, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden the ape, and then the ape turned into a human being because we started walking upright and the hair fell off our body. Now, I was talking to a guy, and this is the trick evolutionary do, right? The first thing they try to do is say, you don't know science, and this is a fact. This is a tested theory. They'll try to say the evolution is a tested theory. When a scientific theory means they tested it, right? And and then the results from the test, and that's their theory, meaning that they're trying to still say it's a fact. Now, when you go into study the evolution, you understand that they only studying the megadon organism. They're not studying nothing else but the organism and how the organism changed. And they said, oh, see, this organism changed, so this evolution had to happen. They have never researched a monkey or an ape turning into a human. They have never. We are talking about, even if they trying to say it's true, we're talking about millions of years of an evolution that you would never ever see in your life, that they can never test. So tell me, has that effect?
And then, if that's the case, why are there still monkeys and gorillas here. Still.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly.
come on.
And then look, I talked to him. I said, so we apes? I said, so why we can't breed with other apes? Oh, because we're a different type of ape. We're the great ape. Like what? So we apes. We're in the ape class, but we can't breed with no other apes because we're a different type of ape.
So now, you basically just called me anime character,
Yeah.
like Dragon Ball. Like,
But the chimpanzee, the ape, I don't care what they talking about because this one got a tail, one don't. I don't care nothing about that. They all still look the same. They all hairy. They look like damn monkeys, and we don't. So I ain't letting no. And I'm telling you that this comes from scientific racism, man. And they trying to make it seem like it didn't. The first things these people were trying to teach us was we was damn apes, that we was dumb, that we was not human beings, that we was 1/3 humans. And now you have people out here teaching that you're not a human, that you're some type of ape, that you're no better than these apes that's walking around, but you build kingdoms and you build nations and nationalities, you build laws, you have been a rocket ship to space, and no monkey or no ape has ever did this in our life. Y'all watching too much movies of Planet of the Apes. This shit not real, okay? Planet of the Apes is fake. Let me say this so everybody knows. Planet of the Apes is not real. All right, men turned into hard-right monkeys in the Aztec. Oh my God. All right, listen. All ancient times and ancient people had myths. Okay, no monkeys, no horror turned to monkeys. That's a myth. Okay, that ain't never happened. You ain't never seen that. So I don't understand why you're trying to teach that like that's history. HOK and the Sochas only destroy the community. Hey, I mean, like I tell people know how I feel. You ain't never seen me on there. You ain't never seen me going on there. You know, that's just me. You know, I love the Lions Den because I respect people who respect me. I don't want to be around people that can tell me all day my God don't exist. That ain't happening. They tear your culture down to implement their own out of Africa is a theory still today. Hallelujah, brother. That's right. It's still a theory. Science has to fit the belief.
The out of Africa cut theory. The way I see it, like if we came from Africa, then it's only probably maybe 5,000 or so, maybe. But most of us were still already here. And how did we get here if there were no boats before the land split? Walked.
Yeah.
It's called migration.
Yeah. A lot of people don't understand the white man has recent blood. No, that's not true.
No, stop that.
Okay. Every time they air watch how they divide. Okay, of the evolutionist mind. The white man has a monkey tail. Okay.
May I? May I? Look, y'all gotta stop saying the white man is white. They are us. We are them.
Yeah.
That they're only lighter because the further north people went, their skin had to adapt. Their eyes had to adapt to the changing climate. Stop the white man this and white man that. Exactly. Because if they're different from us, then we can't breed with them.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I want to show the slave trade.
We're not them.
When I'm saying this, when I say we're not them, I mean when I'm saying that, when I showed that the genes and how they became like that, they did come. I believe they did come. We were them type of people that migrated into the north, and then they changed. You know what I'm saying? But when I say, of course, we're not Chinese people. We're not, a lot of things. We are certain other people. Everybody's not, but we are a same type of species because we still can breed. That's what I'm trying to say when I say we are the same. We still can breed with each other. We can't breed with a monkey. We can't breed with a dog. We can't breed with a cat. But we can breed with each other. Okay, that's what I mean when I say that. But at the same time, yes, there's a lot of stuff that did happen from what they did. But it was certain ones, and then it was other people like in certain countries and stuff like that, and all this stuff was about money, and then it became race. And yes, it is racist stuff like scientists and history and government that did keep us down. So that's why I teach slavery too, to understand what people was holding us down, and it exists.
And
You
there
know what
was
I'm saying? We can't make it seem like that exists. But I don't want to go off that topic to.
Yeah, but you can't be telling people what not to be saying and what to be saying, you know. Just be saying, well, I don't advise people to do this, but don't tell people that's not to say the white man this, you know, because people live in a whole different era dealing with these people. So, you know. You know, I'm talking about that dude that was talking about telling people don't be saying the white man, you know, don't be telling people how to, you know, think.
Yeah. I mean, I just, I was just explaining. I was just replying to the Reese's thing, you know what I mean? But let me see. Where you live does not determine your racial phenotype.
Wait, what?
Where you live does not. Okay. Study the albinos as different types. Yeah. I mean, I just did a show. I just did a show on about albinos, genetics and stuff like that. So, but that we are considered today as if you consider yourself an Israelite Semitic, you're considered under the Asiatic African. You know what I'm saying? With the Asiatic people, the African, we were here too. We were in Europe. You know what I'm saying? We was a lot of the Moors were Israelites, and that's why we're so connected with them. You know what I'm saying? So, a lot of us was already here. We are the original people of all them places. You know what I'm saying? We're the originator of all these races. We're the originators. That's what I'm saying. We're the ancient people. We're the people that everything comes from because we can create albinism. You know, they can't create a black person, so we can create albinism. So yes, we're the original. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
There's proof of where a black couple gave birth to a white child.
Yeah. I showed that on my other show. You know what I'm saying? Because I was talking about the genes, the light gene. All right, the doctors determined the name Lisa is not me. I mean, like I said, I'm not a person. I mean, like I said, I haven't read up on the recent thing. So, like I said, if you got some information there, hey, bring it up. You know what I mean? Bring it, make a show on it. Because I would like to know. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a person, I don't know everything. That's why when I'm showing y'all this stuff, I'm learning. I'm just showing people stuff. I'm not one of them people who trying to debate and trying to make it seem like I know everything. I mean, I'm not saying people who debate and act like they know anything. Let me not say that because it's about building. But I'm just saying I don't do that because I don't know everything, and I try to not make sure I do know everything. You know what I'm saying? But
and I'll apologize to her because I'm not saying we can't say like we can't keep saying that every white person because we're all different. Like there's a free black man who had slaves who didn't want to give up his slaves. That's why slavery lasted so long. But people don't know that.
Yeah, but
we ain't talking about slaves, but you don't know what people's going through. That's why I hate when people sit there and be like, stop saying the white man this. You stop telling people to stop saying anything. First of all, start that. And then stop saying that because we're not talking about just slavery, just talking about, the conditions that people live in today. You know what I mean? The white man has a big role. And then stop saying, because they are science projects. What I mean by science projects, they are experiments. They're not original. So yeah, if they did come from us, it's science experiments. Don't try to make it seem like, you know what I mean? We have to respect that.
I mean, like I said, where I come from, I come from Virginia, so I come from where it really all this stuff started at, as far as the slavery, and that's why on my other show I got the slavery, the slave trade, the slave jail, showing our conditions, because somebody in the comments has said something about we want to blame the European, but then we don't blame black people. But I'm just saying it's our condition.
You can blame whoever you want to. All I'm saying is people need to stop telling people what blame who they feel like they want to blame. Because when you get to start really telling people how to live their life, then you're going to be challenged. So just keep it simple. Keep it where, okay, what you trying to teach. When you start telling people how to dictate themselves and, express to them that, they're blaming certain people, you not walking their shoes, so you can't really just say that.
Yeah, I just ain't feel like I just didn't want to talk about it because I kind of.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the dude that's talking behind you, and he made a statement trying to clarify what he said. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, You know, don't come up here talking about don't be blaming the white man for whatever the hell. We can blame whoever the hell we want to blame.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I agree. I agree. I mean, I agree. It's certain. I always tell people, it's certain states that we live in that had more racism and have more, you know, hatred towards them. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom and them generation, my uncle and them generations and stuff. You know, they know, they ain't play that, but
I went through it.
yeah. So yeah, I agree with that. You know, let me see. Karima have them read Jeremiah 31:27. I'm gonna read I'm gonna read all the.
I ain't gotta read nothing.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
You read it, enjoy. You read it, and that would fit you. I'm just saying, people need to stop telling people how to live their life and telling them grown people what they should be reading and what they should be not saying and what they should be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm reading a comment. That's somebody named Megadol said that, but
No, I'm responding to him. I know.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, some dude named Mega. I don't even know how you say that there. But yeah, she's right, and I mean, I agree. Like I said, you can't tell people like, you know, what they've been through, you know, and the conditions they've been in. Like I tell people, every state goes by. We can't take a person and just off of America. That's the same thing I was saying about the Canada. We can't take America and base it off of one whole thing and everybody living the same way. Some people, when you listen to Martin Luther King, and he said the most racist place that he ever been to was not the South. He said the most racist place he ever been to was Chicago. And people would think that the racist places was Mississippi, Alabama, places like that. It was actually Chicago. You see what I'm saying? So we really, like where I was from, I thought it was one of the main race places because we was the first. You see what I'm saying? We was one of the first people that it happened to. But hey, there's other places that's way worse. And you know, I mean, like when I talked to the Ashley K one time in New York, and they didn't even want to come down here because they thought it was so racist. But I was like, shit. And then I talked to a person from New York, and they like, no, that's more racist in New York than it is down here. So we really don't know. You know what I'm saying? You don't know what somebody else is really going through in the States.
True.
No, fuck your mama.
Damn. Come on, make a dude be tripping.
Yeah. Like
Hey, we didn't even say that to you. What you know? Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
No, because I wouldn't read what he wanted. Fuck your mama. Little motherfucker. Little punk rock bitch. Fuck your mama. When they have free stuff. Yeah, because I'm gonna come in the show and I'm gonna put that. I got the slavery in Virginia, the slave trade, the slave jail, and the slave trade, and I got the Jim Crow never ended. I'm gonna put that up next time, so we can, because I believe that history is kind of fading away, man. Because they trying to take that stuff out of school, CRT. They trying to take a lot of this stuff out of school and history, and then trying to teach us kids that we were fucking servants or servitude. Hell no, I ain't letting that happen. You know what I'm saying? I ain't letting that history come. You ain't faking that out. I'm letting people know. That's why I stay on that slave history and the Jim Crow and the sharecropping, because once they take that away, what's going to happen is the next generations are going to start making it seem like that it never happened, and it's already happened to people saying we're playing victim. No, we are victims, and that's what we are. We are victims. We are victims in the situation that we got to get out of.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say, Kareem, before I go?
No, that was good information.
Yeah,
You always come with some good information. You know, whether they agree with it, they accept it or not, it don't matter. You know.
Yeah.
It was always good. You know.
Keep up your info, because I be listening to you now. You putting that info. Hey, Karima, go to Karima page, man. She be putting some info out there. I'm trying to tell you, she got a lot of that stuff, because she got me on that Jim Crow thing that's going on and getting me aware of what's going on in these different states.
Oh yeah, Mississippi. Yeah, Mississippi. Yeah. So what's up with the Jim Crow law that they trying to bring into effect in Mississippi? What you doing about that? You ain't said nothing about that Jim Crow law that they trying to bring back into effect in Mississippi. What you gonna do about that?
That's Mississippi that we're talking.
Huh?
That was Mississippi in the
That
comments.
was Mississippi. Yeah, they trying to bring the Jim Crow law back.
Yeah,
They trying to vote it back. Yes, they trying to bring that back in effect. So
I got it on my presentation about how they trying to change the kind of like the voting laws and stuff. Yeah, and trying to and it's trying to benefit and take a lot of because a lot of black people have been voting, and really we've been the main people who've been determining who goes in these offices, and they're trying to stop our vote again. And we got to watch out for that. And when we vote, we got to understand: you vote for the president, you vote for the governor, you vote for the mayor, you vote for the chief of police. We got to vote for the. I forgot the people of the school board. The dude of the school board. We got to start getting into these city meetings and stuff like that. So that's more things I'm gonna start looking up to do.
Councilmen and all that.
Yeah, counseling, stuff like that. Y'all be prepared because I'm coming out with a book. And I'm doing the research, I'm doing a study, I'm going to people and I'm gonna talk to them about the childhood traumas, I'm gonna talk to them about the stuff, and I'm gonna put it in, and I'm gonna at least talk to about 100 people, 50 people, and comparative of what happens to you as a child and what happened. And I just wanted to do it in real life, you know what I'm saying? So I'm doing a lot of these studies and of the black communities because we really don't. We talk about the mental health things, but I'm trying to actually help fix. I'm trying to have solutions on it. And thank Karima, thanks the Lions Den. Salute to JJ, man. Like I told y'all before, y'all go be in the history books because of the information y'all letting out here. Thank you, Karima. And yeah, we getting the show.
I'm ready. Yeah, y'all go check out that article about Jim Crow, that law they trying to bring it back into effect. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find the article right quick.
They're trying.
Yeah, I mean,
to take away all our rights.
Yeah, but see, my presentation is going to show. Like I'm showing that it really never it disappeared law-wise, but it really didn't disappear identity-wise because you still got people talking about this the first black person to do this, this the first black person to do that. How are we still in 23 and we still doing 2023? We still doing the first black person to do this, the first black person to do that. So it never really ended. It just lawly ended law-wise, just like they ended slavery, but they never really ended slavery. They actually instituted prison to make the new slavery.
Yeah.
And then I have a show called the New Crack Era is the New Slavery, and that's when because it's the condition. It's not really having to do with the laws and stuff. It's the condition of what they do. Like the Crack Era did as much damage as slavery did, as Jim Crow did, as the Civil Rights Movement did.
You know, she might like agree with me. She might not quite like but I think the one of the ways you keep somebody enslaved is give them what they want.
Yeah. I mean, you said exactly. They lawly acting like they gave us law-wise what they want, but they really didn't on the side.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And that's how they tricked us. They tricked us into thinking that they gave us power, and they actually never gave it to us. And you know what I'm saying? And so, but it's still stuff we did fight to stop, like the voting stuff, and we did get more powerful in it, and then they trying to take it back. At one point in time, they wanted us to vote. That's the crazy part. Like, I can show you slave inheritance, but they actually wanted us to do it, and then when we got too big and determined who won, now it's all of a sudden I don't want this person to, I don't want these people to do it. You know
it's crazy because it's like I said, like my nephew
13th Amendment.
Like my nephew now, we said like, why is it that when we vote, it's still always come down to the electoral college, like which is a group of every state's state like official.
Yeah.
They have their voice counts the most. Like how is that? Like why do they get to vote last and then their votes have the they have they like decide to vote. It should be the people.
Yeah, but that's why I agreed. It was this rapper dude named Yellow Pain, right? And that's what he did. He basically was saying that we worry about the president election, We're not worrying about the governor and mayor and the chief because these are the
Yeah.
people who really determine your law in your counties and in your
City
places
councils,
and in your
like
city.
the councilman.
Yeah, like we got a governor right now, and he established laws for a way of felons to be able to become gun owners again. So like I'm going to court right now, March the 14th, to go get my gun rights back because I became a citizen again. Man, I can do jury duty, all this stuff again. I stayed out of trouble, I paid my court fine, so now I have a right to go back and ask for my firearms right back. So it matters who you're trying to put in the office. And a long time I was one of the people that act like voting didn't count, voting didn't matter, but it does. It matters where you vote for and who you voting for. And the most important people is the people of your cities, the people of your state, because you got to understand what they want to implement in them states. And then it does rise because the president helps establish them people.
Yeah.
So all that trickles down. Why would the Egyptians record their defeat, loss, in Exodus, but they will try to hide the evidence? Why would the Egyptians record their defeat, loss, in Exodus, but they will try to hide the evidence? Yeah. I mean, because like we said, history is what? History is what? His story.
Mm-hmm. It's
It's
his
their
story.
story. You know
So,
what I'm saying? They don't want to.
Mhm.
They don't want to really talk about how they were defeated, who the people were, the names. You know what I'm saying? And they tried to hide it because you know um, they just didn't want to acknowledge it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I think it's so hard of historians really trying to find out because they didn't speak on that stuff because to them it was an embarrassment. Like you put that, it's like America. It's like America overthrown right now. They're not going, and try to take it back. They're not going. And when they actually if they actually took it back, they're not going to want to talk about the history. Like they don't talk about a lot of stuff now. Like in their history, they came over here and took over everything. They don't establish that in New York. You know what I'm saying? Like in New York, the Native American actually sold land, and actually there was a lot of that stuff going on too. Then they don't talk about the Indian land grab, but when they took land and then gave it to the Black Wall Street people, and how the Negro of America actually benefit off the land of the indigenous people. So it's like a lot of stuff, they don't really talk about because it makes them, it paints them as a people that they want to have, and that's why they took CRT out because they don't want you to know what happened. They want you to forget. And as a person, a Negro in America, you have to know your history because every single other race knows their history. They know who they are, they know their culture, they know where they came from, and that is important to you. That's why Marcus Garvey said, um, they took your origin, your roots, and your God.
we are the only people I feel that don't know our true selves.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to learn and come into a tuition, and we're starting to understand who. You know what I mean? Some people go through DNA. I don't bash them. That's what they rather go. I'd rather go through what my parents told me. Now, if I wanted to learn about ancient time or who I came from ancient time, I might do some DNA just to see who they say my ancient people was, and I don't know because I'm gonna tell you, it's a place called Family Tree DNA. When they did the DNA of people, they was actually taking your DNA and they was sending it to the feds, and a lot of people went to jail because of that, and that was illegal.
Wow,
You know what I mean?
that's
So,
messed up.
yeah, I'm just saying, watch out giving your DNA to people. I mean, even though me as a felon, they already got my DNA, so it don't even matter to me. But just watch out when you do that.
So there's fraud even in the federal government.
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. I mean, a lot of situations come from that. A lot of our leaders were killed from these alphabet people.
Yeah.
So, and they're starting to admit it on their deathbeds. Of what they did and what happened, all the experiments, all the spraying. Like that's why I try to tell the person to come is, you just don't understand what the experiments we went through. I mean, if you understand the chemical warfare, what chemicals actually do to you, what a chemical sprayed into the community can actually do, what spread diseases in the community actually can do to you. I think she's gonna get that Jim Crow. I should. I should. I can't even show, but I was. I should show a piece of that Jim Crow thing, but I might have just said it for the slavery, Jane.
She did it.
No, I think she's gonna do. Let me see. Oh, so that was Mississippi. Yeah, Mississippi, you need to speak on that, man. I just want to hear what you got to say about that state of Mississippi and what y'all going through, and do you acknowledge it and understand what's going on, and is it important to y'all in your state? Well, I know. I know it's important to the people there because I see them talking about it, but it's important to you. Yeah, but that's why I do. Like when I try to teach, that's why I say I try to just teach y'all for basically comparing and showing. I don't like these people that come out as scholars but they're not really doing scholarship. They're just doing bashing, and I just don't agree with that. I don't know, and that's really showing no evidence and stuff like that. Let's see if anybody else got anything to say. Oh, they got it for the 13 in there. When hold on, when they have freed the slaves, their job was to tell us where they came from, where they got everybody from. Oh, yeah, them was definitely ain't doing that. Yeah, you got to study yourself to find that out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I know from what I learned, when they freed slaves, they was going to give them land and everything, and the North didn't want them to have the land.
Here you go, right here. Jim Crow is resurrected in Mississippi. Okay. Hold on, what that say? The wickedness do this. Okay. I can't really. It's too light for me to see the words.
Yeah.
Georgia U.S. Senate race should have never been this close. Well, yeah, this the article she got on the on Jim Crow in Mississippi. I think I heard Georgia speaking. I think Georgia is I think Georgia is going through this too because I seen one in Georgia too and Mississippi. I don't know which. Oh, okay. That's a delay on the phone, but let me see if I can find it. Okay, you see it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I found it myself.
Okay. All right. Earlier this month, white representatives in Mississippi House approved a bill to create a new district that includes all of the majority white neighborhoods in Jackson, a capital city that is 83% black. This includes creating a criminal justice system for the district overseen by all-white power base. Under House Bill 1020, the white conservative Chief Justice of Mississippi Supreme Court would handpick the new district to supervising judges. Um, Prosecutors of public defenders would be chosen by the state's white Republican Attorney General. The zone will be policed by expanded Capitol Police Force led by the current white police chief and supervised by the state's white public safety commissioner because all district officials will be appointed instead of elected. Jackson's majority black citizenry would have no voting rights on the matter, making Mississippi only jurisdiction where, according to the UCLU, Unelected judges and prosecutors have jurisdiction over criminal and civil law matters, although 12% of their sales taxes will be redirected to pay for it all. It's oppressive because it strips the right of black folks to vote. Jackson Mayor Corey Antar Lumumba said after the bill cleared the House, it's oppressive because it puts a military force over people that has no ability to them. It's oppressive because there will be judges who will determine sentences over people's lives. It's oppressive because it redirects their tax dollars to something they don't endorse nor believe in. State Rep Trey Lamar, the white Republican who sponsored the bill, lives in the representative of a majority white district more than 2 hours away from Jackson, holds a seat once held by his grandfather Leon Hannaford, whose legacy includes introducing a 1962 bill to tighten residency requirements for college students, which a local paper at the time reported would have kept Negro James Meredith from filing suit to enter the University of Mississippi. In various statements in the House floor and the op from last week, the legislator has insisted that the HB 1020 be adding unelected judges to Hinds County's court will help clear up empty case backlogs, while the expanded Capitol Police Force will address a spike in crime in Jackson, allowing his constituents to feel safe when they come to the Capitol. Calling the bill racially neutral, he suggests Jackson black elected representatives who overwhelmingly rejected the legislation have used race as some kind of particular maneuver and has even gone so far as accused those same black officials of incompetence in leadership. If it's not already obvious already, there's really only one way to describe an effort to create a white particular stronghold in America's second blackest city where the black majority is subject to taxation without representation, and that is trying to pull a Jim Crow. But it's not just a top down white supremacist power structure the bill proposes that begs the Jim Crow comparisons. It also the overly racist subtext needed to justify the idea that white power is the natural solution, and assumption so frequently made it's recognizable between all those lines of racially neutral language. At the suggestion of the amendment to ensure his bill's unelected judges, at least from Jackson, Lamar suggested the research not be limited to the majority black city, asking, do we need, hold on, do we not want our best and brightest sitting in judgment? Black House Democrats rightly compared the bill to Mississippi 1890 Constitution, which was drafted especially to include the Negro from voting through sinister methods of black disenfranchised, but the toppling of Reconstruction in Mississippi elsewhere was also driven by the white supremacist assumption of black incompetence, intelligent unfitness, and innate inadequacy, ideas fabricated to cast black folks as incapable of leading. One Mississippi delegate would later write that the goal of the state's constitutional convention had been to adopt some provisions in our organic law which would serve the state to a good, stable government, freed from Negro rule from which we have suffered, and to remove from the sphere of politics in a state of ignorant and unpatriotic Negro. For nearly a century, the white racist recollection of Reconstruction will redact and overwrite history, smearing black leaders as inherently unfit to hold office and falsely portraying the reestablishment of absolute white authority as necessary intervention and saving grace. Perhaps this history is lost in Mississippi current white legislators, but that seems unlikely considering the effort they put into scrubbing in from textbooks. Ditto to the fact that the black officials has held any of the designated shot calling positions, Attorney General, Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, nor any statewide elected office since the brief period of Reconstruction after the Civil War was ended due to white terrorism to black voting power, the Mississippi Free Press recorded. Wow. Yeah, that was good information right there.
That's great.
So y'all pay attention to the Mississippi, man. And like I said, I think I heard Georgia speaking on it too. So I mean, I think that stuff is happening in Georgia, and if they doing it in them states, then best believe it's coming. Yeah, best believe it's coming here, and best believe it's going to other states.
Yeah.
Because once they get it passed and we allow it, if we don't fight it and acknowledge it, yeah, it will come. Trust me.
No, I think, and it's just my thought. Like I could be wrong.
It just be hating on the Israelites.
But-
They're popular.
But those in power, they want a race war. That's what I feel.
They just be hating on the Israelites because we are popular and we confident. Oh yeah,
Yeah, of course.
most definitely. Most definitely, we're gonna be confident because we gods, man. We're children of the Most High. That's what happens, and they not. You know what I'm saying? They don't have that divine. You know what I mean? But yeah, I gotta head to work in the morning. I hope y'all enjoyed. Like I said, next time I come, I'm gonna hit y'all with the slavery in Virginia, because I mean, I as a new teaching out here that there's a new teaching out here that slavery didn't exist and the slave trade didn't happen, and people on the plantation. So I'm using Google or going to the universities and showing that the artifacts there, and then I'm showing the places I went as field work that I actually went to myself. It's called the half acre. No, it's called the double half acre. The second biggest jail holding place in the world in Virginia, and one of the most ruthless places to be in history, slave jail. I hope y'all enjoyed. Kareem, again, thank you. And peace out to y'all.